Hello and welcome to today's Delta Credit Tip. Today we're going to teach you a little technique that could increase your credit score by as much as 30%. Through a little technique that we call credit card clocking. So stay tuned, come on right back for today's Delta Credit Tip. Hello and welcome back to today's Delta Credit Tip. So today we're going to go over a little technique that we use as the first place that we look to help raise a credit score. And it can raise your score by as much as 30% on your credit report really quickly. And it's through what we call credit card clocking. Okay? So your credit card, they represent 30% of your credit score, at least 30% of your credit score. And it's really in the balances. It's what they call the debt to credit ratio. So what are the balance on my credit cards versus what are the limits on my credit cards? That represents 30% of your score. And that is what we call looking at the glass half full when we start repairing credit. The first place I'm going to look is, well, what's the positive stuff? And is the positive stuff really positive, right? Or is the positive stuff actually hurting your credit? So we always look at the balances on the credit cards. So it's what I call a 30-30 rule. Once your balances on your credit cards exceed 30% of the limit, you run the risk of losing as much as 30% of your score. It's a huge number, right? And it's all wrapped up in the balances on your credit card. And if you only have one credit card and it's a $300 limit and you got it at $290, you just lost 30% of your score. And by simply paying that credit card down to $90 or less, because that's 30% of $300, then you could potentially raise your score 30%. Just that quick, right? No deletion letters required, no waiting in the mail, just simply getting that down. And that's one reason why we always say that the cornerstone to your credit repair is not in your credit report, it's in your bank statement. How you handle your assets determine how you handle your debts, right? And those balances on your credit card is a very good indicator of that. Now, word of caution, if you max your credit cards out every month, only to pay them down at the end of the month, let's say for reward points, you got to be very careful. That is a very great technique to do. You know, get those, that's literally a form of income, right? A friend of mine, Eric, thank you very much, Eric, by the way, he took myself and 3 of us to the bayou, right? Spent the whole weekend in New Orleans, eating shrimp and grits. It was a fantastic weekend, all paid for in credit card points. I mean, that's really what you want to be when you grow up, right? Being able to pay for a trip to New Orleans in credit card points, right? But there's a pitfall to that. Because the thing is that if you're not careful, sometimes the report date on a credit card happens to be after the payment date for that cycle. So even though you pay it off at the end of the month, because you're maxed out at the time of it being reported, it could have a negative effect on your score. So if you have that technique of maxing the cards out, paying it off at the end of the month, make sure you call your credit card company and ask them, hey, when do you report to the bureaus so I can make sure that I make my payments prior to that? You want to clock it to make sure that you're paying it before they report. Does that make sense? It's a great way to manage that credit score because the last thing you want to do is have to go in for a loan and realize, oh, my balances are too high and get declined because of something silly. Okay? Now, those credit cards, if you have no credit cards at all, recognize by simply introducing one to your credit profile can boost that score 30%. You could do it with a secured credit card. You could do it with an unsecured credit card. You can even do it as an authorized user on a loved one's credit card, provided that they keep the balances low. So by introducing a credit card to your credit profile, you can get an immediate lift of 30% on your score. And that's really good in credit repair because you may have a number of derogatory items that you're having difficulty getting rid of. And if you're trying to get to a lendability standpoint to a lender, say a certain point value, well, it minimizes the negative things that you have to address if you can just focus on that glass half full first and make sure that the positive stuff you're getting the maximum amount of points for. So I hope this information helps. If it does, please subscribe below, like it, a couple of thumbs up, and most importantly, share, 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 because this is how we learn. This is how we empower ourselves. This is how we make a choice to make a change. Delta.